situation here. You know, when you're filling a hole in the wall in the plaster, normally a big size hole like the hole the size of your fist, you would put some screen behind it and then put a thin layer of plaster, and that would, the spackling would go over the thin layer, make a thin layer, and then the screen behind it is actually kind of just like hovering into the hole. Well, the best way to do it is take like, a trash bag and fill the hole in if there is an insulation inside the wall. And then you put a nice thick layer of plaster in there, the spackling, and you, if it's a big enough hole, it's going to try to leak down, the wall, because the weight of it's going to just pull it down the wall. So what you want to do is take some clear like shipping tape and put a couple rows across the bottom of the hole, layer it up a little bit, and when you put the plaster in, that will catch the bottom part of that hole, and it will stop that bottom part from leaking out, and then you'll have, it works. And then a couple days it'll dry out, it'll crack, it'll probably pull away from the actual hole, and it will shrink. And then what you got to do is, if you feel that, you could probably push it in and just make a new hole, but what you want to do is push in a little bit, to where it gives a little bit, and then you want to put a new coat of plaster on top of that and flatten that out. And then what that's going to do is that's going to bond to that plug that you put in there, and then it's going to, once it all dries, that plug is actually going to harden into the repair hole. And after you're done sanding, you'll have a strong point there. It won't be a weak point, because with the screen, you put the screen in, and when you put like maybe a half inch to an inch of plaster, that's just touching up against that screen. That's a weak point because there's nothing behind that. But when you fill it all in completely, put a couple layers of packing tape or something, duct tape, it don't matter, as long as there's tape at the bottom of the hole going up a couple layers, maybe about, up to halfway of the hole, you're actually holding that plaster in place at the bottom. So if the top leaks a little bit, it's not going to matter, but you want to get most of that hole filled. And, and after it dries for a couple days, then you can test it and lay around with it, and push it on it a little bit and see how much it'll actually will give. Now, you could probably just push it right through, but like I'm saying, you put another layer of plastic over the top of that. Once the plaster, spackling plaster is nice and smooth and over that plug, because it's going to shrink, it's going to push in, and it's going to look like a hole again. It's going to be an indentation. So what you got to do is put the more plaster spackling over that, and then get it so where it's nice and level across the wall, the drywall, and when you sand it out, you're not going to even see it. Now that's if it's done correctly. Now, if it's not done correctly, which I've seen some hole repairs that you can see the slight indentation, or it might be humped up too much. You can tell something was there. But a good repair job, you do it. If you sand it level, you have no problems, and that's about it. But it's going to take a while to get that fixed. So that's it.